Hi, my name is Jeanne, and I'm 65 years old, and I found Jesus. Jesus found me when I was about 60 years old. So I lived in the world for quite a long time. Little bio on me, I was adopted, and my parents got me when I was like 3 months old, and I was kind of adopted into the same family. Um, my mother was killed when I was a baby, and these are just stories that I heard um, as I was growing up. So my dad, um, he gave me more or less away to his half sister and her husband, and um, they agreed that they would keep me for a year, and then after a year, if he wanted me back, that he would, they would give me back to him. So they kept their promise in a year. They, um, went back to my dad, my biological dad, and, said, well, we've had her for a year. Do you want her back? And he basically said, no, I gave her to you, you can have her. So with that, I kind of always felt that from the beginning, I wasn't really wanted. And I grew up kind of with a chip on my shoulder about that. My adoptive parents were very good to me. I can't say that I had a bad childhood because they were very, very good to me. I grew up in a nice home. I grew up in a Catholic environment. I went to a Catholic church on Sunday, and actually went to a Catholic school for 6 years. So at the age of 12, I was sexually molested when I was 12. That also put another um, chip on my shoulder, I guess, and a lot of hurt. Didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't tell anybody about it because it was a family member that had done it, and it was just it was something that I just could not tell anybody. So I held this inside me for years, and after that, I always felt like unworthy. I started really thinking that I was no good and no, just a bad person and had bad blood in me. So at 12, I started really becoming sexually involved with whoever, guys from school. I looked older, so I met a lot of older, guys. Well, I was wild. In other words, I was just pretty wild. When I was 16, I met someone that was in the Navy. He was about 5 years older than I was. I got married. The marriage lasted a year. I got pregnant and had a baby daughter, my first daughter, Donna. Um, I started drinking, and I wasn't 21 yet. I was like 20, 19 or 20. I could get into bars, so I started going to bars, and I met my second husband in a bar. We were married for 14 years, but it wasn't a good marriage. It was abusive. My first marriage was abusive. I was cheating. I was a cheater. I drank. There was times I didn't come home until the sun was coming up in the morning. Um, Basically, a lot of times I neglected my kids because of my drinking of alcohol. So my husband and I ended up in divorce, and then he cheated too, and he was abusive. Then we got divorced, and I was single, and I had three girls by this time. I was single with the three girls, and we moved from place to place because I was always trying to find a cheaper place to live. And even though of all the bad things that I had done, God still showed favor on me because we always did have a place to live, and we always did have some sort of food to eat. It may not have been the best of food, it may not have been the best of place to be living, but he always provided. I just didn't understand that at the time, that it was God, that was um, that was working in my life. But I didn't realize that because nobody had ever really told me. I mean, I knew that growing up Catholic that there was a God, and I understood about God. And, I thought that He was good, but I also questioned God because I was like, God, how can you? Why is everybody else happy, and why am I going through these things? I was kind of like on a pity wagon, and questioning God of why He was putting me through the situations that I went through, and why couldn't I just have a normal life like other people? The job that I first got when I went back to school, I was there for 10 years. It turned into be a pretty good job, but then we got bought out by another company, and then I moved on to somewhere else, and um, I ended up at the place that I work at now, where I've been for about 11 years. Um, a girl that I worked with, and we became friends. We had a lot of similar situations with adoption and relationships and everything. And she was a Christian, and she started telling me about Jesus and about His love and everything. And she listened to Christian music, and I made fun of her, when I was in her car and stuff, and she'd have the Christian music on. I'd roll my eyes, and I'm like, do we really have to listen to that? I'm like, can't we put it on, something else? And then she, say, well, just listen to the song, and I'm shaking my head. She said, why don't you go to church with me? She said, I think you would like it. I said, it just doesn't work, but I didn't really know about the relationship with Jesus or anything. The Holy Spirit had not really got inside of me at this time. It was working, but it wasn't there yet. So Franny started talking to me, and she's like, well, why don't you she said, I really think you would like this church and like this preacher and stuff. And I was like, Franny, I'm like, I've been to so many churches, and I said, I've listened to these preachers, and they're up there, blah, 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 And I said, yeah, I'm going to listen, and then I'm going to go out the door, and tomorrow I'm going to be doing right back the same thing that I've been doing before. I'm going to drink. My language is going to be bad. I'm going to do all the things that I've done before. It doesn't work on me. It's no good. So she kept being persistent in a nice way, So finally I'm like, fine, I'll go to church with you. So we went to have Bible, and we sat in front. She insisted that we sit in front. And, I didn't want to be there. It was like, okay, so. But then I started listening to the pastor, and it was like, he preached in a way that I had never heard before. So even though I had in my head that this wasn't going to work, my heart was like kind of listening. And I kind of liked it, but I didn't want to admit it. So I went again, and then the first two times Franny took me, and I rode with her. And then the one time I was going to go by myself. And I'm like, well, should I go in or shouldn't I? I'm late, so I'm arguing back and forth. And I know it now that it was the enemy saying, go on home, you're already late, But Jesus was on the other side telling me, it doesn't matter that you're late, come on in. Well, Jesus won. So I pulled in the parking lot, and I went in, and Franny was there, and my oldest daughter had also started going. She was there. So I came in, and, I found them, and I sat down, and of course they were all very happy to see me. And then that particular Sunday, Pastor Pat was giving his altar call. And it was just everything he said, and everything, it looked like he was looking directly at me. And when he gave the altar call, I was trying to fight it, and I was like, okay, don't go up there. You're going to make a fool of yourself. You've done this before. Don't do it. But all of a sudden, it was just, I got up, I went to the altar, I knelt down, my friend and my daughter came up, they laid their hands on my back, and they started praying over me. And, one of the deacons or something came up, and I think it was BC, and, he's like, is there something I can pray with you? And I said, I want to be saved. and that's when I got my salvation. I just felt like all the burdens that I had been harboring in my heart had been lifted. There was like a weight that was taken off of me. Some chains were broken. And since that day, I mean, I have just like kind of plugged in to more and more. I go to church every chance I get, pretty much. I get involved in ministries. I've even, been asked to lead a class, and I mean, I've just been blessed. God has just He softened my heart. One of the things that I forgot to say before I got saved, I went up and I talked to Pastor Pat. I just said, yeah, he was telling me about the love of Jesus, and I was putting on this hard act, and I'm like, it ain't gonna do no good. I said, too bad, and he just kind of chuckled, and he's like, get over yourself. And that made me take a step back when he said, get over yourself. And I'm like, what do they mean, get over yourself? Well, now I understand, there's nobody too bad that cannot be saved. And, no matter what you've done, Jesus still loves you. And I found that out. And, so here I am today, and I love Jesus. He has definitely made a change in my life. You can see the joy that I have in my heart. They call me Smiley at church because I'm just always full of joy, and I love to smile, and I love to share, the word of Jesus with others, and to show others the love of Jesus. And it took a long time to get there, but I think going through everything that I went through, God was preparing me for something. And, that He was telling me, you have a purpose. And I think my purpose is I'm going to do whatever I can to spread the word of Jesus and the love of Jesus.